David Gallagher. We'd like Kim Goosey's going to come up now, and I guess we want the entire board. Is that right? Education to come on up too.
They're not smiling. I don't know.
Well, Dave, we could have listened to that a lot longer, and now that I have an opportunity to say something, John's going to check his watch. He always says to me, debrief, checks his watch. So, he asked me to speak, so, you know it's not going to be brief, John. Anyway, I'm going to go back about 25 years. 25 years ago, I came into a meeting, and a guy had a cell phone about the size of a shoebox. It looked like one of those kind that you came down off the wall. I think it even had the rotary dial on it. And some of you remember those days, and I think it was like $3 a minute, and everybody was kind of envying the fact that he had a cellular telephone. But nobody could afford the thing, and I think he worked for the phone company, that's why he had the thing. And when it rang, he answered it right there, and just had the conversation right in the meeting, and everybody thought, man, that guy's got a lot of money because it's $3 a minute. He's got on for about 9 minutes. And all he's saying is, well, not too much. I don't know. A few years later, I got a cell phone. The first one that I'd ever had was, I don't know, like about the size of a 1 pound block of cheese. And it flipped like that, and it was $1.50 a minute. And so if you got a phone call, the only thing you said is, I'll call you back in just a second. I pulled over, found a convenience store, and went to the payphone, and everybody carried quarters at the time so that you could, be away from your office if you needed to be. And you remember the generation where they came with, I really am going someplace with this. When they had the generation where I think it was Nokia, they were more like a walkie-talkie than a phone. Mm-hmm. And whenever anybody was talking, it sounded like they worked for the volunteer fire department or something like that. Finally, BlackBerry came along and people started to text, and then phones came with cameras. Fred Ziari, I'm sure some of you were at those rubber chicken lunches where Fred would bring in a handheld computer that was ruggedized, and he would put it in a pitcher of water, and everybody, oh my gosh, we've come so far since the guy brought the phone off the wall and set it down on the table, and we all wanted one of those, and eventually, the phones are so small and they got so much that we're just all doing this most of the time. The reason I share that story is because I was asking my wife, Julie, what can I say about John? And she filled me in on what she would say if she had an opportunity to be here. And I had told Julie about John, and it starts out with, this guy's a colonel in the Marines, and he's led people in combat. He was in the first Gulf War. He was at the Marine War College in Quantico, Virginia. He was assigned to, he had an assignment in Europe. He could take you on tours of the Battle of the Bulge if you wanted to. I mean, he can rattle on about Antietam and Gettysburg like he was there, and he'd talk about, and then this group of soldiers came over like this. On and on and on I went, and so she was very, very intimidated to meet John. So John got elected to the Port Commission. We were back in Washington, D.C., and we were sitting through a meeting, and I had been tasked with an important thing, which was find the restaurant we're going to be at. And everybody here has had your phone ring when you forgot to put it on silent. But as we were sitting in a meeting about this full, my phone said, go 268 feet and then turn left. And you can pretend that's not your phone, but your head turns purple. Everybody knows that that's your phone. And John looks at me with the look where you're one of the Keystone Cops, aren't you? And you've heard him use the Keystone Cop phrase, and that's a really disparaging thing. And he looks at you like, oh, John, I'm so sorry, and I know we'll never be friends again. I finally got the thing shut off. We got to the restaurant, and of course my wife hadn't told me not to do this, and so I'm fiddling around with my phone, and so is everybody else, but John. And he's asking about Julie. And, well, tell me about your family. Where are you from? Tell me about the kids. He's getting to know her. And she was so taken by him. Her intimidation went to affection just like that. You know, John is such an amazing guy. He's bright, but he doesn't have that egghead professorial shrug your shoulders kind of bright. And he's a man of principle, but he's not pious. He is compassionate. He's bold, but he isn't overbearing. He's outgoing and affable, but you know he's not going to try and sell you a used car. He's just a great guy. I think the greatest tribute that I could pay to John is that the people who know him best love him most. And, you know, I have so much admiration and affection for John. It's just great to get to know somebody like him. I was thinking about what I'd like to say. And John makes me want to drink beer. You're like Arlington or something about, and people are crazy. And I was thinking about, you know, I'd like, John and I have had these conversations without the beer where we talk about politics and blonde and redneck chicks and all the girls we know and all the hell we put them through. And it's really great to know somebody like that. But John and I have also gone to the Grace Reformed Church together. And he's got such breadth and such depth, and he's such a good guy. And I'm so glad you're on the board commission. I'm going to get to see more of you. So, I don't know. We just love you, John. So, this is for the cabinet. There you go. You're supposed to open it.
No speech yet.
Well, behind every successful man is a surprise mother-in-law. Before I open this, I want to tell you how touched and almost overwhelmed I am for you all to be here. Couldn't possibly recognize one single person without recognizing a whole ton of you. So I thought I'd recognize one person, and I don't even see him around. Dan Dorn, or not Dan, but Russ Dorn, where are you? There you are, right there.
Yeah.
Most of you know that the college turned 50 last year, and Russ was on the original board. It was guys like Russ that were here long before I showed up at this place, and long before many of you that work here showed up at this place, and had a dream that we'd provide a service to Northeast Oregon that didn't exist 51 years ago. And it would not only make people better, but it would boost the economy, and it would just be a great place to be and be from. And I look around Northeast Oregon, and I look at so many people, just great citizens like Tim Mabry. Where's Tim? Tim was class president here, I don't know, 100 years ago. That got their start here and have just done great things. So it's been a privilege for me to have a second career here at the college, and it's been my privilege. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to open the response. That's all taped up. Oh, I have enough.
Of course. Yeah, not that kind.
We have an ambient procedure governing the labeling of knives. Now, one that took the favor has not worked for this college for some time. But the last time,
Wow.
you know, You gotta be secure in your manhood. Am I supposed to open this? Yeah, wear this in the Roundup parade.
Wear that in the litter buck room.
Do it once, Fritz. Well, this is very nice. It's a gift certificate to Montana Peaks, so I'm guessing that this is a token representative.
Maybe not.
Keep it.
It's funny that he mentions Russ Dorn, because Russ Dorn's gonna be our next speaker. Coming up. It's the foundation.